Anybody got any public comments? Should we take a roll call first? Or did you get everybody, Mike?
I think I've got everybody coming in bits and pieces. Ryan, Jenny, Ken Sands, Ken Keeler, Laura, Leland, Chad, Robin, Lori, Josh, Donna, Kelly, Maxine, Liz, Ellen, Sarah. Is it Sarah? Or and then Casey.
Well, hopefully we won't get Zoom bombed and we'll be all right and good to go.
We got Josh on it. He's our security personnel.
Alrighty, let's get this started. We'll go into the remote learning.
Yeah. I guess I would ask Laura and maybe Ellen to pitch that first from the elementary perspective, what they're doing. We can't hear you, Laura.
Hey there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Ellen.
All right, sounds good. So over at Somerset, teachers have been getting Google Classrooms going. They've been participating quite a bit in the training with Kern Kelly daily to get their platforms up and running. They started off with a communication platform called Dojo when the students had paper packets the first couple of weeks. And then we have begun the transition over to Google Classrooms. It's going really well, very strong at the 3rd and 4th grade level. Those students had a lot of prior experience on their Chromebooks, and they're very comfortable using them and navigating through the assignments. It's nothing really new to them. They were doing so much of it in class. It's more challenging with the younger grades. So we're finding that we're spending a lot of time, talking parents through the login and how to access things. Attendance is better this week in terms of that online platform, and we're getting less calls and questions. So we're hoping that people are getting more comfortable now that we're in the second week of using those classrooms. So overall, I think it's going well, and it's just a matter of keep improving it. We have about 30 kids who have no internet access, so that's a big deal. We're still sending paper out to those students to keep them connected. The good thing is their parents are connected with the school through phone calls, and they also, we just had a food pantry delivery today where they kind of drove up and honked their horns, and a volunteer loaded their trunk with a box, and that was a good way to connect with a few of those people that do not have internet and check in with them and get them some more paper materials. So things are going well. Sorry, that's my dog. Yeah, that's about all I have.
Mike, what are we doing to address the kids that don't have internet access? Besides sending home paper homework. I don't think he knows he's muted.
Mike, your mic is muted.
Just had a good conversation with myself.
Awesome, buddy.
Yes, we're sending out paper packets. We're sending out hotspots, trying to find out which kids are connected, which kids are not connected. When Josh might have, I think he's got a breakdown of how many kids we probably actually have that cannot connect. But those ones that we are concerned about, like Ellen said, we try to reach out. We've actually had the Newport PD track down a few kids that we haven't had access, and I think Dean was actually going to talk to Somerset County as well. If those kids that we need to check in on will be on our radar. Josh, do you have an indication of how many kids we do know of that are not connected?
About 250 district-wide is the best numbers that we've been able to cobble together. Obviously, we had lists from every school, but some of those kids from the high school live with kids from the elementary school. So tabulating all that data, it looks like between 2 and 250 So we've given out every hotspot that we've had in our office. So we are out of those at the moment. Obviously, we probably weren't going to be able to come up with 250 hotspots anyway. But now that we sort of have that number, we probably need to figure out if there's some type of an investment we want to make there. And it's not just a financial investment, it's whether or not you can actually get stock of some of these items now, because nationwide they've been gobbled up pretty hard. So
I know we're just starting out on this, but have we looked into if any of these kids actually can get internet at their house? Because I know a lot of them are providing it for free.
yeah, so we didn't really. Yeah, so that's the other thing that we probably should start to ask now is whether or not you choose, whether or not it's been your choice to not have internet at your house, because that's kind of a different discussion. But yeah, so now we know sort of district wide how many, and I guess we need to figure out why they don't. And obviously, some people choose not to pay for it because it's expensive, even though they could get it. And so, yeah, lots of those questions certainly still exist.
Ken, those ones that were offering it for free, those companies that were offering it for free, were with some gotchas. So if they had ever had like a late payment or back payment or were ever disconnected from another company, they weren't connecting them for free. And places like Spectrum, only if they're in your area. So if they don't go up your road, they're not going to connect you.
I just basically wanted to know if they had access at their house. It's like Otelco in my area is offering it for free for everybody with no strings attached. And I know everybody on my road has it, but not everybody actually has it. And that's what I was trying to find out, because I know some companies are working with you with school districts and some aren't.
Laura, did you want to go add on?
Well, I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay. Well, I was trying to use Matthew's super cool headphones earlier, and they didn't work out so well. No, I was just going to say for Sebastian, as far as an update goes, we talked a lot with the technology department and with Kern to try to streamline things for parents, knowing that we have families that have, we have some families that have 4 kids within our elementary school. It made it really difficult if all the teachers are using different platforms. So all the teachers at Sebastopol move it using Google Slides. So if you go to the Sebastopol website and you click on the distance learning piece there, you can see all of the different classrooms that the teachers have right there. They're accessible to anybody, and so basically parents just have to go to that page and bookmark it. And kids are getting to the point where they're really able to navigate a lot of that independently with the help of parents bookmarking those pages. The teachers honestly have done some truly remarkable things on their pages if you get a chance to check them out. It's not just the classroom teachers that have pages up and going. So our special education teacher has pages. Our Title I teachers all have pages up and going. Up there, our social workers has a page. They've put a tremendous amount of work in them and tried to make them as user friendly as possible. They're also continuing to do their weekly check-ins with families, and so that looks different depending on the family and what works for each family. So some teachers are making phone calls, some they're emailing some parents, some are using like the Remind app or Class Dojo to keep in touch. They've tried to create a schedule with the special education department in Title I, so they're not overwhelming parents by calling too much. Because one of the complaints that we have gotten is just that in everybody trying to maintain contact, for some families it's too much. So trying to create a schedule to kind of coordinate that a little bit, so we're not calling too much. We do have a Google Doc basically set up for those families that are hard to reach, to make sure we don't have any kids slipping through the cracks. So for those kids, Franny and I frequently will try to call personally for those kids, or in some cases we've had to pull out the emergency forms and kind of go to alternate emergency contacts just to check in and make sure those kids are okay. One of the problems we run into in Sebastopol is that in areas of Corinna, sometimes we have kids that don't get great internet. Even if they have internet service, it's pretty spotty. We have sent out quite a few physical packets as well for kids that don't have internet, and that changes daily. So, I mean, Franny and I, it's not uncommon for us to get 1 or 2 emails a day just saying, hey, we're having this problem with our internet. Is there any way you could get us a physical packet? So when that happens, we're throwing some physical packets on bus runs. We've had a large number of parents ask to borrow devices, which has actually been a really positive thing because that means the kids are accessing those Google Classrooms that teachers have spent a lot of time putting together. So I would say overall things are going really, really well, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from parents as well. We had Josh make it so anybody who leaves a voicemail at the school, Franny and I automatically get those in our emails, so we're able to call parents back that same day, which has been great also. So we haven't had parents kind of waiting to hear back about anything, which I think has been another really good thing. But overall, I honestly can't say enough good things about what the teachers are doing with their online learning sites. They're really incredible.
Liz, did you want to do a quick update with special ed? How your staff is taking this?
Sure. So I'm hearing a lot of good things about people having connectivity, connecting with their students, and we have meshed with the different schools in terms of trying to coordinate and not overwhelm parents. We do get our own information about people saying they don't have connectivity, and I feed that to Josh. I see, I've been shared the
She must have be one of those Verizon zones. Liz, you froze.
That happens to Liz quite a bit, unfortunately.
She's moved up north somewhere. Casey, you'll probably weigh in when you're talking about the high school coaching, but did you want to weigh in on kind of what the high school schedule looks like?
Yeah. So at 8:45, Mary does her live announcements. So she does it Facebook Live. She also sends a video of that to all the kids' emails. And then 9 o'clock is the start of, we do a midterm schedule, we decided. So from 9 to 9:30 is required online class. If for some reason a kid can't access it, that individual kind of.
Did you mute?
Was I muted that whole time?
No, just that last piece.
Oh, it's like that'd be embarrassing. So at 9 o'clock they start one class, and that usually lasts a half an hour. But our teachers are amazing, and so they let the kids know, if you want to keep going and you want more help, I'll stay in an extra half an hour if you want. And that's the second half an hour is complete choice for students. And then 10.
You're muted again.
Meetings, department meetings. I'll talk more about my pop-up PD, currents PD. So that's kind of what we have for schedule. And then Friday is kind of like a little bit of everything, clubs, activities, instead of a class in the morning.
Thanks. Suzanne, you kind of gave the board an update. Anything else you want to add about Delta Ed?
Just one little piece. When the rest of the adult education met the other day, we were talking about some online enrichment classes as well. So I have been looking into that and figuring out how we could do it and which ones would be best for it. So that could help on saving some of the funds that we would normally lose on not being able to do the enrichment piece. I'll keep you posted.
Josh, do you want to talk about the middle school from a parent's perspective, or do you want me to do middle school?
Yeah, I can talk about it as a parent, I guess, because I was involved in some of the planning anyway. But same sort of similar setup as the high school, obviously on a schedule. It's a Monday through Thursday type of online learning environment. Their homeroom typically starts at Their virtual homerooms typically start at 8:45 in the morning, and for fifth grade kids, for my fifth grade son, it's more of like a read aloud book sharing at 8:45. They kind of sign into their first class around 9 a.m. They have their core 4 classes on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then they have all of their specials on Tuesdays and Thursdays: phys ed, music, IT, art. Some of the classes they're doing them online, like in Google Meets, so they're kind of interactive. Some of them are just within their Google Classrooms. They're doing lessons while those kids are logged in. My eighth grade son is much more like sort of Google Meet. It's more video chatting with teachers, and some like math instruction happens kind of online. At the same time, they all have various assignments that they have to complete, or that they should complete, I guess, for their core classes. Really, they have a phys ed log, a reading log that they have to do every day. So it seems to be working out pretty well. My fifth grade son, it took him even a little while, because I think our fifth graders weren't totally used to using Google Classroom and such, even when they were physically in school. So it took him a little, couple days to figure out sort of how to turn his work in, and I had to sit down with him a little bit and walk through some of that. But overall, it seems to be pretty, they seem to both be pretty enthusiastic about it. So I think from a parent perspective, it seems to be going really well. From my perspective as, obviously involved in the tech side of things, I think the scheduling of the learning has sort of taken some of the chaos out of the day, because I think the first couple of weeks people weren't really sure at all sort of what they were supposed to do, or where they were supposed to be and what time and what their expectations were. And so I think the scheduling at all levels across the board has really helped, but the middle school level seems to be kind of moving along fairly well, just like the rest of the grade levels.
So Jenny and Ryan and Mark, I think you have middle school students too, am I right?
Yep. And I've heard from some parents too, and the feedback has been that the same what Josh is saying, the scheduling has helped parents, because before they were just like, here, do this because I'm off to work, but I can't help you. And now they're like, oh, I know he's got something, and when I come home, he's had this structure, and I can help them if they need it. And a lot of parents are good with it now.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's helpful also just on the, if I know that my daughter has homeroom at a certain time, I know not to schedule any of my meetings, because our internet can't handle more than one Zoom call at a time. So it's actually super helpful for, at least from our perspective, from working from home, because the whole family's on a schedule right now. And she's in sixth grade. She's really fairly independent, more than I would like her to be most times. But my son, I'd say, as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old today actually, is struggling a little bit. I bet he doesn't talk to Mrs. Sieber the way he talks to us about homework. But other than that, it's great.
My middle schoolers are struggling with the schedule, but they're trying to catch up.
So I would say from admin, again, Laura or Ellen could weigh in, but I hear about leadership team meetings, department meetings. They're still doing ed tech meetings. They're also doing IEP meetings. Once, I know 2 administrators popped out of our meeting to do admin meeting, IEP meetings. I do 2 debriefs at least a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, with them. And sometimes I pop in with individual administrators that we need to talk about certain issues. There are still some issues that still come up, adult issues and student issues. I'm checking in with the Panquist superintendents, and also I'm the president of Panquist this year. And now we are meeting weekly with the commissioner. So we are all staying quite busy. Any questions for any of us on how remote learning is going? So that the first 2 weeks we're kind of getting started, and then the second phase we talked about it. We did set up some more specific schedules. We are discussing grading, because we're going to get in between the third and fourth quarter. There's a lot of discussion about how grading goes when you're doing remote learning. We don't want to penalize any children who don't have access to internet. We don't know what's going on in their lives. We don't know if they're taking care of somebody else. We don't know how the parents are connecting. So a lot of people are going to pass, fail, maybe passing with distinction for kids that are really knocking us out of the park and have the support behind their learning. But that is a piece that we are ironing out and going forward with. But I think that elementary school kind of has it figured out in one way. The middle school, maybe a combination of what's going on in the elementary school and then the high school. Then Mary's discussed hers a little bit one of our last meetings when we were discussing the graduation requirements and which kids have met their requirements, and we'll be moving on.
Are we starting to plan for the long term?
What do you mean by long term?
Well, they're saying 18 months. Are you guys planning for that, or are you just?
I'm trying to get through
this
vacation, and then I assume that there's going to be another message coming out. Obviously, with the governor saying something about the ability to do elections, I would assume that we're going to have a message from her, I hope, pretty soon.
Looking like August now.
I have a question.
They've postponed it until July.
That was hopeful.
Right.
Do we have any students? I think I heard a little bit about this, maybe from Ellen. But do we have any students at any level that we have no idea if they're okay? If we don't know if they have internet. They're not turning in work. They're not coming to classes. They're not even participating in the meal drop-offs. Do we have any students that are just completely?
The last 2 or 3, I think, Laura, you got to almost everybody. We sent the Newport PD out to them, right?
So I think with every family that we have, we've been able to, at least I can only speak to Sebastopol, we've been able to make contact with somebody in the family. We do have a couple families where our communication is very limited, and it takes there's quite a few people calling different numbers and trying to reach out. But at this point, we don't have anybody that we've not contacted somebody from their family at all. Having said that, we do have a couple families that we're not able to reach them every week. A lot of times, if I happen to go into school on the weekend or something like that, a lot of times I can catch families sometimes on the weekends, or they're more apt to answer emails sometimes if they come from me and not from the teachers. But at this point, we've made contact at least with everybody. In fact, the one family that we hadn't heard from yet, we made contact with today. So.
And I can echo what Laura is saying. We've been in touch with every student. There are a couple of people who, are not making that type of phone contact. However, we are delivering meals at their houses every day, and they're collecting the meals. So we know where they're at. We know they're safe. We know they're being fed. We have a couple of students who have moved out of town, but naturally they're struggling to get registered in a new school, so they've stayed put with us too, and they're in contact and they're doing the work with us and are still technically our students, even though this situation has kind of changed their residency. So we're in touch with everybody. Like Laura was saying, there are a couple of families that you can't talk to them every week on the phone. They won't necessarily do that, but we have contact in some way.
And I would echo what Mike said too about, we do have, it's not a lot, but we do have a couple families that we do have some bigger concerns about. And so for those families, we are in contact with corresponding police stations. So for some of our kiddos, it's not even the Newport police station. I have another police station, that I speak with because of a family that, given this situation, they're not living where they normally would live because of, daycare and all of those sorts of things. So we are on top of those things, and the local authorities have been really good about working with us and checking up on any kids that we worry about. So sorry, go ahead.
I looked at Angela's numbers, and I think she had 15 out of like almost 600. So it's not wonderful. It's not 100%, but I think, and we still continue to look at those lists. You know, what we had to establish them first and get to, you know, we'll probably have levels of, you know, getting after it, but we don't want to give up on anybody. But of that many, 15 is not good, but we're getting there. Mary probably would be a little bit more. It's hard to get hold of some high school kids. And some people have moved, probably haven't told us.
Okay, thank you. I think the high school kids, to some extent, are a little more independent as well.
I can speak. We have a spreadsheet, so every by Friday, every advisor calls and contacts their students for anyone who and then we put on a checklist whether we contacted them or not. If another teacher is able to get a hold of that student, if the advisor couldn't, then that's kind of corrected. And then whoever we couldn't get contact 2 weeks in a row is on the second list, and then the Mary, admin, and guidance counselors then target those students to get in contact with them, and then we have a separate list for those.
Awesome, thank you.
Sorry, Ellen.
That's okay, probably nothing. I would kind of ditto what she just said, just in terms of teachers are turning in a log every week of who they haven't contacted. We're keeping that on a spreadsheet. The bigger problem we're having right now is that the mental health services are really limited. And so it's very hard for people to find the support that they need. And, you know, students who need hospital beds because of mental health issues, we're struggling with that. But social workers are really on it and are doing all they can to get those kids what they need. So.
Any other questions about that, or do you want to shift over to coaching support for remote learning?
Does anybody else have any questions? Carry on, Mike.
I would pass this over to Lori and her team of coaches who are working as hard as the rest of us, supporting teachers.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you. This is a really different format for all of us. So hopefully none of us freezes and we can do our little presentation that we prepared for you. So first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting the coaches and me to share our journey over the last few weeks. One of the things that I've noticed as I've been working with people is that there are some common threads, and relationships is number one, first and foremost, and then clarity, communication, consistency, and coherence. I wanted to share a little quote with you from some of the work that, some of the literature that grounds some of the work that coaches do. And that quote is, every school should become a learning community where teachers, and I would add coaches, families, and administrators, come together frequently to study and collaborate as a means of improving their craft and student learning. This has never been more true than right now as we provide remote teaching, remote learning, and remote coaching. As you can all imagine, coaching remotely is very different than coaching face-to-face. It's new to us, it's challenging, it's sometimes overwhelming, and it's always an adventure. Each one of the coaches on our team brings their strengths and their skills and their passions to this kind of format as we support each other, as we support administrators, teachers, and their families. Currently, my time is divided between administrative meetings, meetings with Lori, meetings with coaches, meetings with Title I and teachers as we collaborate to organize cohesive plans for this remote learning. And as a district level coach, I see my role as being similar in some ways to the role that I had before. It's helping to ensure that all the stakeholders, whether that's families, teachers, coaches, receive a clear and consistent communication and message while fostering that coherence throughout the district and maintaining all of those relationships. As the coaches and I thought about what we would share with you tonight, we decided to share the work that we've been doing within some themes. So this is work that has unfolded since March 16th. And the themes that we collectively decided on were coach to administrator support, coach to coach support, coach to teacher and family support, and professional development. I'll begin by sharing what I've been doing in each of those realms, and I've tried not to repeat what coaches will also be sharing so you don't hear the same thing over and over again. And of course, my role is a little bit different. So coach to admin support, as I said, I've been meeting with Lori. I've had one meeting with all of the elementary administrators. Lori and I have met with high school teachers to talk about life after Read 180 and planning an intervention for both middle level and high school that builds on what we do at the elementary school and strengthens what we can do for our middle school students. And I've also been part of the leadership team meetings. Coach to coach support has entailed facilitating coaches meetings, coaching coaches individually, joining the coaches' professional development sessions and providing feedback, collaborating with Marsha Booty, and preparing professional development for the coaches. Coach to teacher support and the families in the district. The teaching and learning class has still been meeting. When school ended, we still had 10 hours in order to finish the class. So we've worked to recreate a schedule and have those sessions. I've also been participating in Title I grade level meetings and PLC meetings. And then professional development, which you know as a district level coach is a huge part of my role. I'm currently taking a course through the university, Intervention Designs for Struggling Learners. We were 6 to 8 hours away from finishing that course, so I'm still enrolled in that. We're doing that remotely. I've engaged in some professional development sessions with Kern, my own professional development, reading, researching, and preparing for the teaching and learning class. Marsha Booty and I have been providing professional development for the Title I educators, the support staff, and this was part of the Title I project, so that has continued. And I'm also participating in 2 book studies with 2 different leadership teams. Reading Help for Billy with the Somerset leadership team and Teaching to Strengths with the EDS leadership team. So those meetings have continued. In addition to that, Lori and I have been thinking about what happens when we return to school. And in my mind, the face of coaching will definitely change when we return to school. And in my way of thinking, we need to support students not through the lens of catching them up and thinking about what they've missed, but through the lens of where are these students right now when they come back? Where are they as learners, and what are they ready to learn next? And by thinking about them through this lens, we'll continue to support them based on their strengths and not their deficits. So that's been my journey so far. At this point, I'm going to invite the coaches to talk, and then I'll come back just for a little brief statement that I wanted to share with you. So Donna Kissinger will begin.
Hi everyone, I'm Donna Kissinger. I'm the literacy coach at Sebasticook Valley Elementary School.
So remote teaching and learning has certainly changed the way we communicate with each other and the way that we've been thinking about teaching and learning. So my life has certainly changed in the aspect of working from home now, and I'm also homeschooling an 8th grader and a 10th grader. So I'm learning a lot. I've had to review a lot of pre-calculus work lately so that I can help my son. So I'm going to share under the same themes that Kelly was just sharing under. So I'm going to begin with our coach-to-coach support and what we've been doing. So we're currently meeting twice a week as coaches to support each other. At the beginning, in the first couple of weeks, we were meeting every day just to try and brainstorm what this teaching and learning is going to look like over the next few weeks and in the days ahead. We've shared our schedules with each other and also created some shared documents that we're sharing across schools, really trying to brainstorm, where we can provide support to teachers and what their needs are. And then by sharing across those individual schools, we're able to get those multiple perspectives from different teachers, have different ideas about how to approach this remote learning. And so it's been really fascinating to see all of those different approaches and be able to learn from each other. For coach to teacher support and supporting our families in RSU 19, we began supporting them. I was with teachers helping create packets and gather resources and materials. At Sebastopol, we planned for those packets to last for that first 2 weeks that we were in this remote learning situation. And then another thing that we tried to do as a school was create virtual read alouds for students. And so we were recording, all the staff were recording themselves reading aloud books, and then we were posting them on our school and district website so that students could still see our faces and hear us read aloud a book, just like they would hear in the classroom. And we would prompt them, prompt for that deeper comprehension just the same way. So they're getting that familiar face and familiar voice reading to them. So we thought that would be a nice way to keep that community and connection going, even though we're far apart. So once we realized that remote learning was going to be over a longer period of time, we started thinking more about how to make that sustainable. And that's when those Google Slides came in. So the teachers create those Google Slides, and I also created a deck of Google Slides that are really literacy based and focus on reading and writing. Sometimes I'll video myself doing a read aloud, or there have been authors who have been reading aloud their own books, so I've been trying to make connections with those. So if you want to check those out, those are on the remote learning site for Sebastopol. I've also been partnering with teachers a lot through email and trying to, help where I can with technology and finding resources. I'm currently collaborating with the 3rd grade team, and we are taking a reading unit of study and trying to adapt that to remote learning so that we can incrementally still advance student learning and keep them going with the curriculum. For coach to admin support, I've been attending all of the grade level PLC meetings and staff meetings, and when we have Q&As, I'm trying to listen for those themes across what the teachers are mentioning so that I know how I can support them. One of the things that came out of that was a theme of all of these online learning platforms are now offering free subscriptions until the end of the school year, and there are a plethora of them. So what I tried to do was vet some of those online learning sites and put what they're offering all in one document so that teachers could go to that document, and if they were looking for something that they were looking for support with, that resource would hopefully stand out to them within that document so that they didn't have to do all that research on their own. I also created a presentation for Lori Merrill. We were talking about all the incredible work that our Title I staff has been doing to support their students, and so I was able to put all of their work into a presentation for Lori to be able to share with other districts and show them all the incredible work that they're doing as a team. And my own professional development continues as I'm reading and researching constantly, trying to figure out how to support teachers. And I'm also a part of the teaching and learning course with Kelly. I've been attending that all year in hopes that I'll be teaching it next year, and so learn from the best. And so I'm been continuing to attend that class and support those teachers in their work with that class. So a lot has changed, but we're all working towards that same goal.
Thank you, Donna. Shellen, you want to jump in?
Absolutely. YouTube said so many wonderful things that jumping in is tough. Although in thinking about coaching during COVID-19, I kept coming back to the initial tenets of coaching, just as Kelly suggested in her introduction, which is collaboration to reach all learners in a student-centered model, really finding those access points for them. We're all learners in this too, so that's all encompassing. And it's really perhaps ironic that in this situation, I feel like we've all reached across a digital divide, and the result is increased collaboration and differentiation as we come together to meet these unique educational and social and emotional needs of students and community members and families and teachers and administrators, pretty much the entire educational community. So we're kind of perhaps more connected, and I feel a little like Shrek, like an onion, right? So there are all of these different layers. It also reminded me of a quote from Michael Hargraves in Professional Capital, where he said that people are motivated by good ideas tied to action. They're energized even more by pursuing action with others. They're spurred on still further by learning from their mistakes, and they're ultimately propelled by actions that make an impact. And this is what we call moral imperative realized. And that moral imperative really stuck with me because that's where we are in education right now. It's a moral imperative. So in that coach and admin lens, I feel like there's really that motivation by good ideas tied to action. I've been in leadership team meetings one time a week with administration and representatives, teacher representatives from each grade level. My role here is really to take those concerns and ideas that are discussed with each grade level representative and then further unpack them while in those grade level PLCs, Title I meetings, and one-on-one coach to teacher meetings. In this layer, I really try to be a bridge between all the grade levels and administration, getting the ideas and the strengths and sharing those trends that were identified during those meetings. And there, those good ideas really become tied to action in all of the other layers and teams. In that coach to coach lens, I feel like we're really energized even more by pursuing action with others and spurred on still further by learning from mistakes. In this layer, coaches meet at least weekly to continue to support each other by providing ideas about how to support the various groups within our buildings and try on those new things. It's here that we grow as coaches by sharing techniques and resources and co-developing PD. And there's a real virtual silver lining here where now we sit in on each other's PD because we can reach across that virtual divide and have not be just in our own buildings. We can have multiple coaches helping multiple teachers across the district. And that's kind of a silver lining here. In that coach to teacher and families, this is where we're ultimately propelled by actions that really make that impact. In this layer, I feel like the coach meets at least once a week to support small groups of teachers. I do. Currently the third grade team, and also meetings I participate in with Title I staff and special education teachers. And all of them are reaching across this digital divide to each other in order to make those lessons integrated so as not to overwhelm parents and students. Many meetings with individual teachers during open coaching hours that I've posted. I have those when their needs crop up. So the coaching cycles really continue. They may have shifted to how to manage a new delivery model and share that burden with teachers. But we're all working on finding those access points for all learners, and that's a key focus. And it's really differentiation at its finest. I've vetted some resources as well. I'm a mother of a 10th grader and a 4th grader, so I really understand that high demand of online education through that lens as well. Another true family, school, and community connection was forged with the One Book, One School initiative that was started before all this began, but really has become a touch point and a unifying place for Somerset staff and families. In that professional development vein, in this layer, I feel like coaching is like the ultimate PD. It's job embedded PD with teachers. And I both learn and facilitate learning. So I'm participating in a wide array of PD opportunities, technology PD offered by Kern, conducting my own PD tailored to the unique needs of small groups as those needs crop up, and with teachers one-on-one. Development includes anywhere from working in Google Classroom and trying to facilitate how to get those so that they're not too overwhelming, Dojo, PDF conversion, being in that teaching and learning course and participating in that, literacy strategies and read alouds. I even went on to a couple of the DOE PD sessions, and that's amazing too, because now districts are reaching to other districts across that divide. So here we're really all propelled by actions that make an impact. And that's the moral imperative realized. We've really all reached across the divide, across schools, and even across districts. Thank you. I'm Shellen Rayleigh Masterman, by the way, Somerset elementary coach.
Thank you, Shellen. Casey?
Yep. So, the first 2 weeks we are kind of navigating that in a different way. So I provided targeted professional development for teachers, and it depended on the department. So, for example, with CED, the issue came up of senior presentations. Like, that's a big capstone and milestone for a lot of our seniors. And so we brainstormed how students are going to share their presentations. And that's what we're doing over the next month in the afternoons. Teachers sign up and get 3 judges for each senior presentation. Whereas science and English wanted to know more about remote learning, history wanted to embed literacy strategies, so it really depended on the department. And then in addition to that, I was helping making copies and kind of putting things into place. The next kind of phase, that phase 2, I moved to more whole group professional development. So I provide every Wednesday from 10:30 to 11 a pop-up PD, and it's offered to everybody. I also record it and I post it on my blog. So if teachers are unavailable, if they're meeting with students, they can still go back, look, and participate. In addition, I hold office hours every day for teachers. It ranges from helping teachers implement something they learned in a pop-up PD to working on unit plans that we did before. In terms of how I'm working with colleagues in administration, we meet twice a week as staff, once as faculty, 3 times. Once as faculty, once as department chairs, once as department, and sometimes we meet more than once a week as department chairs if there's like some big decisions to make. In addition to that, I also get PD myself. We meet as a cohort. I work with Reed Dyer for a Great Schools Partnership. We're still part of that BARD grant. They've been really flexible about what this looks like. So Reed and I are talking about what's the expectation that we have for staff in terms of that wider learning grant. And so we've had a lot of discussions about that. And then again, doing that while kind of juggling some of the other duties. So that's what it looks like at the high school.
Thanks, Casey. Hillary?
Hi, I'm Hillary McBriarty. I'm the literacy coach at the Etna Dixmont School. This is actually my first year as a literacy coach. I'm going through the training program through the University of Maine. So this year looks a little bit different for me. I'm out of the school 2 to 3 days a month. In the fall, it encompasses 2 courses, and then 2 more courses in the spring. One course is in theory and one is clinical practice. Through UMaine, we met our clinical days. This is where we attend different schools across the state of Maine to see what's happening in different classrooms. We've continued meeting as a cohort via Zoom to continue the course and our work in theory to finish up our training year. So that cohort meets once a week, and it's been wonderful to hear how other districts are approaching remote learning and sharing resources. It just feels like we're connecting more. As Shellen had said, this technology has allowed us to connect to more schools and teachers than we would have been able to. As far as my role at EDS during this remote learning time, I'm a part of 5 different meetings that happen throughout the course of the week. There's the leadership staff meeting, PLC. We have pre-K through grades 2 meeting, and then we have a grades 3 and 4 PLC. And I also attend the title meetings, so I feel it's beneficial for me to be in those meetings as I can share with other groups what has been mentioned in other meetings and kind of spread common themes and make sure everyone's hearing the same information. Right now in phase 2, our school is very much so attacking those relationships and connecting with students. Each classroom has set up a platform of some sort to be connecting. And I feel fortunate enough to be on the platforms where I have done coaching cycles and the students know me. So I'm in each Google class for the 3rd grade, the 4th grade, and the 1st grade where I attend morning meetings. So I actually attended a hangout today with 3rd grade students just to say hello and see friends. And it was very exciting just to connect. It really wasn't academic. It was just to say hello. And our teachers are just doing a wonderful job with that. As we move forward and we're looking towards that vacation, what happens after, I've begun setting up schedules with grade level teams or individual teachers. For me this year, it has been a learning curve coaching, and I think a lot of new teachers, we bonded. It's my first year coaching and they're newer teachers, and we've done a lot of cycles this year, and I've noticed that's continuing as well. So I know through the remote teaching, I'll continue to work with these teachers for however long this may last.
Thank you, Hillary. So as you can see, the roles of the coaches is evolving. Some things are the same, some things are different. Some of the things that coaches are doing are similar, and then some of them are different, which is what we would expect. Just like in the classroom, we're differentiating based on our schools. So in conclusion, if we continue to come together as a learning community of teachers, coaches, families, and administrators to study and collaborate, we will continue to build that collective imperative that Shellen mentioned. And another way to say that is that we will continue to build human capital, which is part of what coaching is all about as well. Thank you, and we would love to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions from anybody?
Can I just add something we've talked about a lot in this particular group is really also thinking forward. As we don't know how this is all going to unfold in the next few weeks and when we will actually physically have students back in the building. But one of the things that coaches are really focusing on is how they can immediately be support when we get students back in the buildings, not just what we're doing now, so that they can hit the ground running, supporting teachers, but also be flexible with they may be doing a lot more push and actual support with students that they don't do as much as coaches, but they've been really flexible in their thinking and knowing that when we've been away from kiddos this long, with them physically not in the building, they're willing to do whatever we need to do to support kids when we do actually see them again.
thank you for your excellent presentation and for everything you guys are doing to make this transition as easy as possible on special needs kids and every student in the district and their parents. Is that it? Any other questions?
Do you have any future agenda items, anybody on this committee, or anything else?
I'd like to see if we could come up with a plan for how we can get access to other kids who don't have access to the internet, because I know that's going to be a major issue if this goes any further out.
A lot of money. We tried to pick up some extra hotspots, and they want it's a year commitment, $30 a month. That was for 50. It ended up like 11 grand. So I don't know where we're going to come up with that money and the challenges that we have right now. Then again, even if we put hotspots in some of those communities, they're not even getting robust internet. So I know what you're saying. The state is going to put 500 devices in the Dover-Foxcroft area. That's kind of a pilot. They're through like T-Mobile or something like that. Some districts are buying cell phones as hotspots and sending those things out. I hear you. I just don't know what the best implementation is and the best bang for your buck would be.
All I fear is that I know everybody's reaching out to these kids, but I just fear some kids may fall through the cracks that normally wouldn't.
Without doubt, it's our biggest worry.
Mike, we don't know, of course, whether school will continue in this way for the rest of the year or not, but being in charge of 2 scholarships for district kids, I happen to think of that today. If we don't have graduation, these kids are still going to go on to secondary education. And what are we doing as far as scholarships go?
I can touch base with Mary and Leilani and her team on that. Good thought. Mary, and I are really still trying to have some type of celebration or some type of graduation, even if it's later in the year. But
I truly feel that that's very important because we don't need to shortchange them. We've all been inconvenienced or had, a different picture. And so we do need to have some normalcy. And I would think no matter what it looks like or what it is or when it is, we should have graduation for those kids.
Any other agenda items?
Ken.
Go ahead, Kenneth.
When it comes to it, if it comes to it, you can have the graduation out in the parking lot there at the high school, right?
might be safer to have it outside.
Is that it?
Jenny might be saying something. I can try to unmute her.
No, I'm talking to my daughter.
Sorry, good thing I didn't unmute you.
Would have been awkward.
Ryan took us on a scenic tour there while one of the people were having a conversation.
Yeah, and somebody wanted to know what he was doing in his workshop last night too.
I just love Ellen's dog keeps photobombing her. I guess we'll call the meeting there then.
Okay, I'll end it.
All right.